When a person speaks, they are not only sharing words, they are revealing their inner world. Every sentence that leaves the mouth carries the vibration of what lies beneath. Beliefs, emotions, intentions, and fears. What most people fail to realize is that the tongue often betrays what the heart tries to hide. When a man speaks, his words become the mirror of his consciousness. They are not random. They are patterns of energy shaped by his perception of life, his upbringing, his sense of power, and his understanding of respect. Words are bridges between the unseen and the seen, between what is thought and what is acted upon. To listen carefully is to see clearly. To hear without emotion is to decode truth. A man who lives in peace will speak from peace. His words will carry patience, clarity, and gentleness. He will not need to raise his voice to be heard because his presence will already speak. But a man who lives in inner conflict will always project that conflict through his language. You will feel it in his tone, sharp, defensive, sarcastic, dismissive. Sometimes the words themselves may seem harmless, but the energy behind them carries weight. When someone says, "I was just joking," after delivering a hurtful remark, pay attention. It is not the joke that matters, it is the emotional signature beneath it. Every joke carries a truth. Every slip of the tongue carries a revelation. When he minimizes your feelings or disguises disrespect as humor, he is telling you more about his hidden nature than he intends. People reveal themselves most in moments of comfort and confidence. When a man no longer feels the need to impress you, that is when his authentic vocabulary surfaces. The way he speaks about others, especially those who cannot defend themselves, shows how he will one day speak about you. Listen to how he talks about women, about his ex-partners, about his mother, about strangers. If his words are rooted in blame, arrogance, or mockery, that is not a passing attitude. It is an insight into his foundation. The language of judgment always comes from an insecure heart trying to build power through comparison. A grounded man does not need to belittle others to feel strong. His silence speaks more than his words ever could. Every word we speak has energy. Some words are heavy, carrying the weight of unhealed pain. Others are light, filled with awareness and compassion. The words that come out of a man's mouth reflect what is happening in his mind. When he speaks with irritation, it means his mind is restless. When he speaks with control, it means he fears losing power. When he speaks with indifference, it means he has disconnected from empathy. And when he speaks with understanding, it means he has found harmony within himself. Therefore, do not get lost in how charming the words sound. Charm is surface energy, truth is vibration. Many people mistake confidence for wisdom and fluency for sincerity. But sometimes, the most polished words come from the most manipulative intentions. A man who has learned to use language as a tool of influence can say the right things while meaning the opposite. He may say, "I care about you," while his actions show neglect. He may say, "You're overreacting," when you express pain, not because you are wrong, but because your truth makes him uncomfortable. The power of discernment lies in listening not with your ears, but with your intuition. When words and energy do not align, trust the energy. Energy never lies, even when words do. To understand the unspoken mind, one must cultivate inner stillness. The quieter you are inside, the more clearly you will hear what others truly mean. Noise within creates blindness without. If your emotions are clouded by attachment, you will hear what you want to hear instead of what is being said. But when your awareness is sharp, you begin to notice small things, a pause before a lie, a sigh before guilt, a shift in tone before manipulation. The untrained ear hears sentences. The trained ear hears truth. When a man's words do not match his eyes, when his expression flickers as he speaks, when his rhythm changes mid-conversation, understand that the unspoken mind is revealing itself. There is a difference between speaking truth and performing truth. Some men learn what to say to sound mature, spiritual, or emotionally intelligent. But performance has no depth. You can feel the hollowness when you listen deeply. His words may sound right, but they will not touch your heart because they carry no authenticity. The energy of truth feels grounded, calm, and steady. The energy of performance feels rehearsed, anxious, and scattered. To sense this difference, you must first be honest with your own energy. The clearer you are inside, the easier it is to see through others. Language has power, but only for those who understand how to observe it. The unspoken mind always leaks through patterns, repeated phrases, defensive justifications, self-centered stories. When a man constantly speaks about what he deserves, what others, him, or how women are too difficult, you are not hearing opinions, you are hearing his worldview. His vocabulary is the map of his psychology. And in that map, you will see his emotional maturity, his values, and his fears. A person who speaks from scarcity will always use words of limitation. A person who speaks from abundance will always use words of understanding. To listen deeply is to protect yourself. Every red flag first appears as a sentence. Every form of emotional control begins with words. Words that test your boundaries, words that distort your reality, words that condition your self-worth. But these words never come from nowhere. They are rooted in the speaker's unresolved mind. Once you learn to decode the energy behind the words, you will no longer be fooled by appearances. You will no longer chase meaning in confusion. You will begin to hear silence between the words, and in that silence, you will know who truly stands before you. Disrespect rarely arrives loudly. It enters softly, hidden behind charm, humor, or casual phrases that seem harmless at first. It does not always raise its voice or show its face. Instead, it hides in the quiet manipulation of tone, in the way a man frames his words, in the phrases he repeats so often that you begin to doubt your own sensitivity. The most dangerous form of disrespect is the one that disguises itself as care. It comes through sentences that sound innocent but carry the intention to belittle, control, or weaken your confidence. The language of disrespect is often coded, gentle on the surface but sharp underneath. It works slowly, shaping how you see yourself until you no longer notice the small cuts it leaves behind. A man may never shout at you, yet still disrespect you with his words. He may say, "You're too sensitive," whenever you express how something hurt you. He may say, "I was only joking," after making a cruel comment about your body, your dreams, or your choices. He may say, "No one else would tolerate you," wrapped in a tone that pretends to be playful. What seems like light teasing is often the beginning of conditioning. It is a way of teaching you that your feelings do not matter, that your reactions are exaggerated, that your boundaries are inconvenient. And once you start doubting your own perception, control becomes easy for him. Disrespect thrives not in loud conflict, but in the small cracks of unacknowledged pain. Many people confuse confidence with dominance. A man who feels insecure often uses words as weapons to maintain superiority. His tone may sound casual, but his words carry a pattern of minimizing. When you share your achievements, he might say, "You got lucky." When you express a boundary, he might respond, "You're making a big deal out of nothing." These are not random comments. They are signals of how he views your worth. Disrespect doesn't always shout, "You're beneath me." Sometimes it whispers it repeatedly until you start believing it. A sentence delivered with a smile can still strip away your dignity if its energy is rooted in arrogance. The most subtle form of disrespect is mockery disguised as connection. Some men use humor as a mask. They will make jokes about your insecurities, about your habits, about your appearance, and call it affection. "I'm just teasing you," they say, but real affection never humiliates. When laughter becomes a tool to remind you of your flaws, it's not humor, it's hierarchy. It's a subtle way of saying, "I have the power to define how you feel." Mockery builds control through repetition. The more often it happens, the less you resist it, until you start laughing along with him just to maintain peace. That is when the erosion of self-respect begins. Disrespect also hides in comparisons. "Why can't you be more like her? Other women don't complain as much. You used to be different." These statements are not innocent observations. They are methods of emotional manipulation. They plant seeds of inadequacy, teaching you to compete for validation rather than stand in your truth. When a man compares you to others, he is not seeking improvement, he is seeking control through insecurity. Respect uplifts, disrespect divides. And it often does so with words that sound too ordinary to be questioned. Even silence can carry disrespect when used deliberately. When a man ignores you, dismisses your feelings, or withholds communication to punish you, he is speaking through absence. His silence becomes a sentence, one that says, "You don't deserve my attention." This passive form of control is often harder to recognize because it leaves no visible wounds. Yet, emotionally, it is one of the most painful. Disrespect does not always need words, it only needs intention. The absence of empathy, the refusal to listen, the cold detachment. These are all silent sentences of disregard. In relationships, the tone of communication defines the quality of connection. You can hear love and you can hear contempt. A man who respects you speaks with balance, firm when necessary, soft when needed, but always aware of the weight of his words. A man who disrespects you, even unconsciously, often speaks from ego. His words seek to win, not to understand. He interrupts, corrects, and challenges not because he wants clarity, but because he wants dominance. The way someone speaks during disagreement reveals their emotional maturity far more than how they speak during peace. Disrespect also hides in the way a man responds to your boundaries. When you say no, does he listen or does he persuade? When you express discomfort, does he apologize or does he justify? The sentence, "You're overreacting," is not just dismissive. It is a refusal to see your truth. It tells you that your emotions are inconvenient. It suggests that his comfort is more important than your pain. That is the language of control disguised as reason. Emotional manipulation always sounds logical at first. It is only when you step back that you see how it invalidates your reality. Words create energy between two people. When a man repeatedly uses words that make you feel smaller, weaker, or uncertain, you are not in a healthy dynamic. True respect requires awareness. The awareness to understand how language affects another person. When a man has not done the inner work to understand his own emotions, he will unconsciously project them through his speech. His sarcasm is his shield. His criticism is his reflection. His dismissiveness is his fear of vulnerability. But his lack of awareness should not become your burden to carry. Recognizing subtle disrespect is not judgment, it is protection. The danger of subtle disrespect is that it normalizes pain. Over time, you begin to accept small acts of belittlement as part of the relationship. You start explaining his behavior to yourself. He didn't mean it that way. Or, he was just tired. But every time you excuse disrespect, you teach your heart to tolerate it. What begins as a small crack eventually becomes a pattern. A relationship that lacks verbal respect cannot grow love, because love without respect becomes dependency. To notice the hidden language of disrespect is to reclaim your power of awareness. It is to understand that not every smile hides kindness, not every apology carries change, and not every soft-spoken word is harmless. Before a word is spoken, before a thought is formed, there is energy. It is the silent force that shapes every action, every tone, and every intention. Energy is the invisible truth that exists beneath appearances. It is what you feel before you understand, what you sense before you analyze. When a man speaks to you, it is not his words that first reach you, it is his energy. His presence enters the space before his language does. The body feels it before the mind interprets. Every human being emits a vibration that mirrors their internal state, and that vibration is always more honest than the intention they claim to have. Energy precedes intention because the human mind can disguise motives, but energy cannot. A man can say all the right things, but if his energy is restless, manipulative, or self-serving, something within you will sense imbalance. That uneasiness is your intuition reading his vibration. You may not have proof, but you feel something is off. The reason you feel it is because energy communicates faster than logic. It is a primal language, a silent dialogue between two consciousnesses. Before you hear the words, your body already knows if they are safe or dangerous. Every action in life carries an energetic signature. When a person acts from love, their energy expands. It feels open, calm, and grounded. When they act from ego, their energy contracts. It feels tight, demanding, and uncertain. The same gesture can carry two very different energies depending on its source. A compliment given from admiration feels warm. A compliment given from manipulation feels heavy. A touch given from affection soothes. A touch given from control unsettles. It is never the action alone that matters. It is the vibration behind it. People often try to read intentions through logic. They analyze words, recall events, and debate what was meant. But if you truly wish to understand someone's intention, you must go beyond the intellect. You must observe how you feel in their presence. Does your body relax or does it tense? Do you feel seen or do you feel watched? Do you feel safe or do you feel measured? The energy someone carries tells you what their mind is trying to hide. When you learn to trust what you feel before what you hear, you stop falling for illusions disguised as care. Energy is never neutral. It is always influencing, shaping, and transferring. When two people interact, their energies intertwine. The one who is more grounded will influence the one who is unstable. This is why awareness is essential. If your energy is scattered, anyone can project their emotions onto you and confuse your perception. But if your energy is clear and steady, you will recognize when someone's vibration is misaligned. You will no longer be deceived by appearances, because you will be reading essence. A man's intention may sound kind, but if his energy is impatient, defensive, or controlling, the truth lies in that energy. Some people speak softly but carry a vibration of dominance. They offer comfort not to give, but to gain. They help not to uplift, but to be needed. This is the difference between genuine care and hidden control. True intention arises from clarity, not from desire. When a person acts from a clear mind and peaceful heart, their energy feels light, unforced, and transparent. There is no hidden motive. You feel safe, not because of what they say, but because their presence carries no resistance. Energy reveals what words conceal. You can hear, "I love you," from two different people, and it will feel completely different. One will expand your heart, the other will create confusion. The phrase is the same, but the vibration behind it tells the truth. When energy and intention are aligned, the message feels whole. When they are disconnected, something feels incomplete. The body recognizes this dissonance long before the mind tries to justify it. This is why listening with awareness is more important than listening with expectation. The reason energy comes before intention is that the soul moves before the intellect decides. Every emotion, every impulse, every reaction begins as energy within the body. The mind then translates it into thought, and the mouth expresses it through words. But by the time intention is formed, the energy has already been released. You can sense it in the pauses, in the eyes, in the rhythm of speech. Energy leaks through gestures, through silence, through the spaces between sentences. You do not need to look for it. You only need to be still enough to notice it. When your own energy is unbalanced, you will attract and tolerate similar vibrations. Chaos recognizes chaos. This is why self-awareness is the foundation of discernment. When you operate from a grounded state, you begin to sense when someone's energy feels intrusive or unstable. You no longer chase validation from those whose frequency does not match your peace. You understand that energy compatibility matters more than verbal promises. It is not enough for someone to have good intentions. Their energy must also carry integrity. Energy is the language of the soul. It cannot be edited, rehearsed, or performed. It speaks in sensations rather than words. The moment you meet someone, your energies exchange information silently. It tells you what the other person values, fears, and hides. You may not consciously understand it, but your nervous system does. That is why sometimes you feel drawn to someone instantly, and at other times you feel resistance without reason. Energy alignment is not about preference. It is about resonance. In human interaction, every moment is an exchange of frequency. When a man's energy feels heavy, dismissive, or agitated, he is showing you his inner landscape. His body may be still, his voice calm, but the vibration never lies. If you stay long enough in that energy, it begins to affect you. You start mirroring it unconsciously, adapting to it, normalizing it. That is how people lose themselves in toxic dynamics, not because of one big betrayal, but because of the slow influence of someone else's vibration. To protect your peace, you must learn to feel energy before believing words. Awareness of energy means awareness of truth. Every choice you make carries your vibration into the world. When you speak with clarity, your words heal. When you act with selfishness, your energy wounds. The world responds to the energy you project more than to the image you maintain. To live consciously is to recognize that your energy is your message, and others are always reading it before they hear your intention. Boundaries are not walls, they are mirrors. They do not exist to keep people out, but to show you how deeply you respect yourself, the way you draw your lines in life, what you allow, what you tolerate, and what you walk away from. All reflect how you value your peace. Every time you say no with clarity, you are declaring to the world, "This is how I deserve to be treated." Boundaries are not selfish, they are sacred. They are the language of self-respect, the invisible armor that protects your energy from being drained by what does not serve your growth. A person without boundaries does not lack love. They lack recognition of their own worth. When you understand who you are, you no longer allow others to define it for you. But when your self-worth is fragile, you become available to everyone and everything that asks for your attention. You give time where it is not appreciated, love where it is not reciprocated, and forgiveness where it is not earned. Boundaries, therefore, are not created to punish others. They are designed to protect your value from being diluted by misuse. A person who knows their worth does not fear being misunderstood when they set limits. They understand that peace is more precious than approval. Many people confuse kindness with availability. They believe that saying yes to everything makes them good-hearted, but true kindness cannot survive without strength. If your compassion costs you your sanity, it is not compassion, it is self-abandonment. Boundaries teach others how to love you. They signal where respect begins and where manipulation ends. When someone crosses a line and you stay silent, it is not their action that defines your worth. It is your silence that reveals how you see yourself. The moment you stop defending your value, the world starts testing it. Every boundary you set is a reflection of the relationship you have with yourself. If you are at peace with who you are, your boundaries will be calm and consistent. You will not need to shout, explain, or justify them. They will be expressed through presence, not resistance. But if you are unsure of your worth, your boundaries will fluctuate. You will say no, but then make exceptions. You will walk away, but then return out of guilt. Weak boundaries are not a sign of weakness. They are a sign of unresolved fear. Fear of rejection, fear of loneliness, fear of not being enough. Yet, when fear governs your boundaries, you invite chaos into your life. Boundaries are not about distance. They are about alignment. They ensure that what enters your life matches your inner frequency. When you allow disrespect to stay, you are teaching your nervous system to accept conflict as normal. When you allow emotional manipulation, you are programming your mind to confuse love with pain. Setting a boundary is not an act of rebellion. It is an act of energetic hygiene. Just as you protect your body from toxins, you protect your spirit from emotional pollution. The people who belong in your life will never be threatened by your boundaries. They will be drawn closer by the clarity they bring. A person's reaction to your boundary reveals their relationship with control. The one who respects you will honor your limits without question. The one who seeks to dominate you will interpret your boundary as a challenge. They will test it, guilt you, or twist your words to regain power. This is why boundaries are powerful. They do not only protect you, they expose others. When you say, I don't accept this behavior, you force people to reveal whether they came to love you or to use you. Respect is never proven through words. It is proven through how someone responds when you say no. There is a sacred stillness that follows when you set a clear boundary. It may feel uncomfortable at first because the ego fears loss. You may lose people's attention or temporary comfort, but what you gain is priceless: self-respect, peace, and alignment with your truth. The absence of those who cannot honor your limits is not emptiness, it is space for those who can. Boundaries purify your environment. They remove what drains you and make room for what nourishes you. A healthy boundary is not built from anger, it is built from awareness. Anger says, you hurt me and I must protect myself. Awareness says, I deserve peace and I choose to protect that peace. The first reacts, the second reflects. When you build boundaries from awareness, they are no longer rigid walls but flexible guides. They evolve as you evolve. You learn when to open and when to close, when to give and when to step back. Life becomes balanced, not through control, but through conscious selection. To live without boundaries is to live without shape. You become molded by the expectations of others, bending until you no longer recognize your reflection. But when you set boundaries, you regain form. You rediscover the strength to say, I am not here to please. I am here to exist truthfully. This does not mean closing your heart. It means protecting it from those who do not know how to hold it. Boundaries are not barriers to love. They are the structure that allows love to grow safely. When you begin to honor your boundaries, you will notice the energy around you shift. The people who thrived on your availability will call you distant. Those who depended on your compliance will call you difficult. But their discomfort is not your problem. It is their realization that they can no longer take advantage of your softness. The truth is, the moment you stop betraying yourself for the comfort of others, you begin to attract people who value your presence instead of consuming it. Boundaries do not repel love, they refine it. Your boundaries are the echoes of your self-worth. They do not need to be explained or defended because they are rooted in your understanding of peace. Every time you enforce a limit with grace, you tell the universe that you are ready for relationships built on respect rather than fear. You stop chasing validation because you realize that validation is meaningless if it requires self-betrayal. The more you honor your boundaries, the more your world aligns with people and situations that resonate with your strength. Boundaries are not the end of connection, they are the beginning of authentic relationship. Love, in its pure form, is meant to be a space of freedom, a place where two individuals grow, not where one dominates and the other submits. But when respect is missing, love transforms into something else entirely. It begins to suffocate, to demand, to control. What many people mistake for passion or deep affection is often just attachment mixed with insecurity. Love without respect is not devotion, it is dependency. It becomes a way to possess rather than to understand. Respect is the foundation that gives love its structure, its dignity, and its direction. Without it, love becomes a cage beautifully decorated with sweet words and hollow promises. A man who loves you but does not respect you will speak in contradictions. He will say he cares for you, but his actions will undermine your peace. He will demand loyalty while giving you confusion. He will expect your understanding while offering you none. This is not love. This is control disguised as connection. Control does not want you to grow, it wants you to stay predictable. It thrives when you doubt yourself. It uses emotional closeness as a weapon to bind you to its rhythm. It gives affection only when obedience is guaranteed. Respect, however, is different. Respect allows space. It honors individuality. It does not need to win, it wants to understand. When love is real, it does not fear boundaries. It does not take offense when you say no. It does not view your independence as a threat. But when control wears the mask of love, boundaries become battles. Every time you express your truth, it feels like a confrontation. You start apologizing for having emotions, for needing time, for wanting clarity. Slowly, you learn to shrink so that the relationship can remain peaceful. Yet peace bought through silence is not peace at all, it is compliance. And compliance is the currency of control. Respect is not merely politeness, it is awareness. It is the recognition that another person's feelings, thoughts, and experiences hold equal importance to your own. In a relationship where respect exists, communication flows naturally. Disagreements do not lead to humiliation, they lead to understanding. But in relationships where control hides behind the word love, disagreement is treated as disobedience. The controlling partner often uses guilt, silence, or manipulation to regain power. They might say, "If you loved me, you would do this," turning affection into a test you can never fully pass. Real love never asks you to betray yourself to prove its existence. The illusion of control often begins with charm. It looks like care, feels like attention, and sounds like passion. But underneath the surface lies the desire to possess. The controller studies your emotions, your weaknesses, your patterns, not to understand you, but to learn how to manage you. They use your empathy as leverage, your loyalty as a leash. At first, it feels flattering to be needed so deeply. But soon, that need becomes an expectation, and that expectation turns into a cage. Control thrives where self-worth is uncertain, and it weakens the more you begin to recognize your value. Respectful love, on the other hand, nurtures freedom. It allows you to be your full self without fear of punishment. It does not need to monitor, restrict, or reshape you. It trusts your choices even when it disagrees with them. When two people respect each other, love becomes a flow rather than a chain. It becomes a mirror where both can see their reflection clearly without distortion. Control cannot coexist with this kind of love because control fears transparency. It hides behind conditions, behind emotional blackmail, behind phrases like, "I'm only doing this because I care." But true care liberates, it never imprisons. When a person uses love to control, their affection becomes a transaction. They give affection when you obey and withdraw it when you resist. They measure your worth by your willingness to comply. Slowly, you begin to adapt to their moods, suppress your needs, and change your behavior just to keep the relationship stable. But love that requires constant self-erasure is not love, it is emotional dependency. Respect allows individuality to coexist within unity. It celebrates differences while control demands conformity. Many mistake intensity for depth. They confuse possessiveness for protection and jealousy for devotion. But real love does not burn you, it warms you. It does not suffocate, it allows breath. When a man says he loves you but cannot respect your choices, your opinions, or your silence, his love is rooted in ego. He wants ownership, not partnership. Ego seeks control because it fears loss. It wants to dominate what it cannot understand. But love that flows from awareness is never threatened by independence. It knows that closeness grows from trust, not control. The absence of respect in love can be subtle at first. It may appear as small interruptions when you speak, as jokes that make you uncomfortable, as decisions made without your input. Over time, those small acts accumulate. You begin to feel unheard, unseen, and undervalued. The emotional imbalance grows until love becomes labor, a constant effort to maintain peace in an environment where equality no longer exists. Respect keeps love balanced. Without it, one person becomes the master and the other becomes the mirror reflecting what the master wants to see. When respect is present, communication becomes the bridge that sustains connection. When respect is missing, communication becomes a weapon. Every word becomes a test. Every disagreement becomes a threat. You start fearing honesty because honesty leads to punishment. The energy of such love is heavy, anxious, and tense. It is not nurturing, it is draining. It does not allow you to bloom, it keeps you surviving. Real love feels safe even in silence. It does not need control to prove its power because its strength lies in trust. To love someone truly means to honor their autonomy. It means understanding that love is not ownership but companionship. Respect gives love its integrity, its balance, its humanity. Without respect, love is reduced to a performance, a way to control outcomes and avoid loneliness. The tragedy is that many call this control, passion, or commitment, not realizing it is fear wearing the mask of closeness. When love lacks respect, it feeds on power rather than understanding. And power may hold people together, but it never brings them peace. There is a quiet kind of strength that does not shout, does not fight, and does not try to prove itself. It is the strength that lives in silence, in calm decisions made after the noise has settled. It is the strength of walking away. The world often teaches you that endurance defines worth, that staying longer means you care more, that holding on means you are strong, that letting go means you are afraid. But the truth is the opposite. Sometimes it takes far more courage to leave than to stay. Walking away is not about giving up. It is about reclaiming your energy from places that no longer honor it. It is a conscious act of self-respect, a declaration that your peace matters more than your attachment. People stay in painful situations for many reasons: fear of judgment, fear of loneliness, fear of starting over. They convince themselves that with time, things will change, that love will heal everything, that loyalty will be rewarded. But love without respect breaks you, and loyalty to pain destroys you. Walking away is the moment you realize that your worth is not tied to how much suffering you can endure. It is the understanding that peace is not found by fixing everything around you, but by choosing yourself when everything around you refuses to change. There is power in the moment you decide to stop explaining your pain. There is strength in the silence that follows after countless arguments, after endless attempts to be understood. Walking away does not mean you no longer care. It means you finally understand that care alone cannot sustain what keeps breaking you. Some people will interpret your departure as pride, others as coldness, but it is neither. It is wisdom. It is knowing that you cannot heal in the same environment that made you bleed. The ego wants to win, to prove, to hold on. It wants validation, closure, and recognition. But the spirit wants freedom. It does not seek to be right, it seeks to be at peace. When you walk away, you stop fighting for validation from someone who cannot see your value. You stop trying to force understanding in a place that thrives on confusion. You stop arguing with energy that no longer matches your frequency. This is not weakness. This is awakening. Weakness is staying in chaos out of fear. Strength is choosing peace, even when it means standing alone. Walking away is an art of trust. Trust in yourself, trust in time, trust in the unseen path ahead. It requires you to believe that the emptiness that follows will not destroy you, but cleanse you. When you leave a place where your soul feels small, you create space for expansion. The silence after walking away may feel heavy at first, but that silence is sacred. It is where you begin to hear your own voice again, the voice that got lost beneath the noise of trying to please, trying to fix, trying to be enough. You do not owe anyone your constant endurance. You are not obligated to stay where respect is conditional, where love feels like punishment, or where peace requires your silence. Walking away is not running, it is returning to your truth, to your energy, to your purpose. It is the act of closing a door not out of anger, but out of understanding that the door no longer leads to growth. When you choose to leave what diminishes you, you are not abandoning others, you are choosing to no longer abandon yourself. People who have not learned self-respect often mistake chaos for connection. They confuse intensity with love, drama with depth, and pain with passion. They stay because leaving feels empty, but that emptiness is not a void, it is a reset. It is life-clearing space for something purer. Walking away creates the distance necessary for clarity. Only when you step back can you see the pattern. How much energy you gave, how little you received, how often you explained what should have been understood. Clarity is born in distance, and peace is born in clarity. Walking away is also a form of emotional maturity. It means you no longer need to argue to prove your worth. You no longer need to convince someone to treat you right. You no longer need to justify your boundaries. You begin to realize that not every battle deserves your energy, and not every person deserves your access. Sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is silence. The silence that comes with distance, not hostility. When you walk away, you remove yourself from the vibration of conflict, and in doing so, you stop feeding it. The path of walking away is not comfortable. It will test your patience, your faith, your discipline. There will be moments when you miss what you left behind, moments when doubt whispers that maybe you overreacted, maybe you were too harsh. But healing often feels like loss in the beginning. You are detaching from what once defined you, and that process can feel like breaking. Yet, every step away from what is toxic brings you closer to what is true. The pain of letting go is temporary, but the pain of staying stuck is endless. Strength is not in how tightly you hold on, but in how gracefully you release. You begin to understand that not everything broken is meant to be fixed, and not every person lost is meant to return. Walking away is not rejection, it is redirection. It teaches you that endings are not failures, they are foundations. Each time you walk away from what is not aligned with your spirit, you are refining your path, learning what peace feels like, learning that you do not need to beg for what is already meant for you. In truth, walking away is one of the most sacred forms of self-love. It requires you to prioritize inner harmony over outer validation. It asks you to be loyal to your peace, even when it means disappointing others. It teaches you that detachment is not coldness, but clarity. The ability to see things as they are, not as you wish them to be. Walking away is not about strength or weakness. It is about awareness. It is the moment you stop fighting for something that keeps dimming your light and start walking toward the quiet freedom of your own becoming.